Hey there, Fro Nation. Yep, Fro Nation. And if you haven't checked it out yet, there is now a Fro Nation logo, as well as a Fro Nation t-shirt. Check it out, store.FroKnowsPhoto.com. But on this week's episode of RAWtalk, I sat here in front of my computer, and Mark Wallace sat in front of his computer out there in, where is he from, Arizona, and we had a long discussion, only about an hour discussion. We covered many different topics, answered some questions at the end. I think it's another cool little discussion for you guys to enjoy and listen to. If you haven't checked out past RAWtalks, definitely check out FroKnowsPhoto.com/podcast. You can listen to all of the past episodes, download them all, and subscribe on iTunes and get notified of the new episodes whenever you are on there. So I want to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by the FroKnowsPhoto Holiday Contest. Yep, the holidays are here, and I've got a giveaway. There are going to be 40 winners and $7,000 in prizes from Vanguard. FroKnowsPhoto, that's me, Think Tank, Black Rapid. Yep, 12 Black Rapid straps, 12 different things from Vanguard Tripod, 2 Drobos. We've got a Drobo 5D and a Drobo Mini, and there's 40 different winners. You can enter for free at FroKnowsPhoto.com/contest. 20 winners will be selected from that random drawing, and 20 people will receive a golden Fro pick who place an order from the holiday sale on store.FroKnowsPhoto.com. So last year we gave away 5 golden Fro picks. This year there are 20 going out to random people who make purchases from now until the end of the holidays, December 24th, 2012. Yep, that will be the end. So lots of prizes, worth a lot of money, actually. So it's pretty cool. Some good prizes. And I want to thank allenscamera.com, thank BBO Poker Table, thank Vanguard, and thank everybody who's taking part in the holiday giveaway. So get ready to listen to this podcast with Mark Wallace. Hey, Mark, it's Jared. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. It's cold in Phoenix, Arizona, so I'm wearing my oldie sweatshirt. But other than that, pretty good.
By cold, do you mean like 70 degrees?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think, let me look on my trusty iPhone here and see what the temperature actually is.
I mean, you're in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
It does get cold in the desert, though.
It does. So let's see. Right now, it's a freezing 60.
Oh.
The high is only 79 today. So
no, that's it.
Cool.
See, that is this the time of year where it's nice there?
Oh yeah, we just started our heaven season, and it's going to last probably till March or April.
Because I've only been out there once, and it was 110 degrees or something.
Yeah, so right around Halloween, it's still hovering around 100, something like that, 105. I think we were even at 108, somewhere around that about Halloween. And then about a week after, it's just like, whoom.
And it just plummets, and this is the time of year to be out there.
Yeah, and then everybody gets out, they're on their bikes, they're jogging, hiking, doing all that stuff. And so it's awesome.
It's a beautiful place. It really is.
Yeah.
If you can handle the heat.
Yeah, and it's a dry heat, so you just sweat and don't know it and collapse. It's no big deal.
Well, it's kind of like what happens when you go through Israel. It's a dry heat. You know what? I found out that when I was shooting through Israel for the Maccabi games, I was the official U.S. photographer. Well, one of them, the only professional. The other 3 were not professionals, and I let them know that. But that dry heat isn't that hot. It's not as hot as when you go to Florida and there's 100% humidity and it's 98 degrees and you're like,
yeah,
think it's worse. So it's not that bad.
It's not that bad, except for if you're not used to it, what happens is you don't realize you're sweating, you get dehydrated, and then all of a sudden you just collapse.
Well,
awesome.
What is the rule? If your pee is yellow, you're already dehydrated. It's already too late. They taught me that when I went to Israel.
That's right. So got to be nice and clear.
So this is a discussion today about pee and proper color.
So it gives a whole new term to I shoot raw.
Well, sort of, I guess one way. So you just got done doing that. You did a live Mark Wallace live.
Yeah, and it's something that I'm going to be doing on a regular basis. We did, and when I say we, I mean Kelsey, our producer, Matt, our videographer, and then we had a bunch of volunteers. And we're looking at doing live events about twice a month, something like that. And I've got a lot of questions about what we're doing and how that relates to Creative Live, because I've done a couple Creative Lives and people have asked, hey, is this a new Creative Live? And it's not. It's not at all. We love Creative Live. I hope to be back again soon. But the difference is, I make a lot of videos, a few hundred in the last couple of years. And the problem with those, it's you don't get any feedback until it's live and you can't change the video. Yeah. And so you never know if you're missing a topic or you haven't explained something fully. And also you have to keep those to about 10 minutes, something like that. Maybe 20 at the outside, but and that just doesn't give you a lot of time to go deep on any topic. And so that's something I wanted to change. So we're doing some live shows and we're taking topics like understanding light. We just did one on my favorite lighting setups. We've got one coming right after Christmas for people that just got a new DSLR to go over all the buttons and dials. And
well, you should just give them my video guide.
I should,
or yours,
or mine, either way. But it's exactly it's that need of helping people out to understand what they're doing. And then the other thing that I'm really trying to do with this, sorry, my face is itching, is a few years ago at there was a thing called Levi's workshops in New York, and I went there and talked about something that we were launching called Matchstick Workshops, which is something that I'm really passionate about. It's a gathering of artists that work together to use their skills to make the world a better place. And I know that sounds a little bit heady, but
no, it makes sense.
Yeah, and we're going to be working on that. But part of what we wanted to do with that is to provide small photo groups. If you're a group in, let's say, Hamilton, Montana, or Kansas City, or like a smaller place. The problem is you can't just zip over to Photo Plus, or you can't see some great instructors in New York City or San Francisco, or your resources are limited. And so what I'm trying to do is to work with other photographers and through Mark Wallace Live, and that name probably will change, but to be able to interact with these small organizations to help educate other photographers that don't necessarily have the resources that everybody else does.
Sure.
Creative Live's doing a great job of that. They're doing 3-day workshops, sometimes a little smaller, but usually it's that. What we're trying to do is much smaller workshops, maybe 3 or 4 hours.
And I agree with you. And I watched and I tweeted out and put to Facebook that you were doing the live thing, and it's a very good thing. I mean, to go live and what you said earlier is that you feed off of what people are saying. And I noticed that when I was trying to make my beginner guide, that I had to go back to the very beginning to think about all the basics. And that wasn't easy for me. But when I'm at a boot camp and people are asking questions, we can go for hours and hours because it just triggers something else. So, the 4 hours is a good time. Doing the 4 days, the 3 days, the Creative Live, it may be a little much, a little over the top sometimes. But, I'm looking to do some of the live stuff as well. I think it's going to have to wait until I move into my new place so I can have a setup and be consistent with where I'm at. I don't think my dad wants me to bring any more crap into the house right now since I'm back here. But, the live thing gives us a way to connect with people in a longer form and give it for free. And then people that want to purchase it can do that.
Right. And that's sort of the objective is, it does cost quite a bit of money to do this. And so we know that there are people out there that can support what we're doing, and we ask them to do that. And we're asking them to do that in pretty small chunks. We have a pre-purchase price of $20. It's actually $19.95. So that's for people that know who we are, have seen my teaching, and they know, hey, this is going to be worth it. And then those people that see, that 4 hours and then want to keep that forever, they can purchase that for $30 if they decide afterwards. So we're going to be putting together a curriculum of just all kinds of topics for all different levels of expertise. And
you said curriculum, and it brings up a very interesting question. And it's something that I'm going to have. I'm going to actually have a podcast on this specific topic. I'm going to go to this high school kid. I asked him, he's not sure what he wants to do with school. He's not sure whether he wants to go to the 2-year school where I graduated from, Antonelli Institute, a 4-year school, no school at all, or just buy a lot of gear and try to make it as a photographer. And I asked him if we can sit down with his parents, because I know he was having a discussion with his parents, and they're like, we don't think you should do this. We're thinking maybe we just buy you the gear and invest the money that way. I'm like, how about we all sit down for an hour and have an open discussion about this? So I have to go and do that. But, you know, it seems today there is so much information in the photography realm online, good and bad. There's a lot you can find out there. Your thoughts on school for photography?
I think it's extremely important to go to school as a photographer, not necessarily to learn how to take pictures or make photos. I really believe if you are going to run a business, then you have to know some things. You have to know about accounting. You have to know how to do projections. You have to know how to balance a budget. You've got to know how to market yourself. And so my suggestion is if you want to become a photographer and work for yourself, you need to go to school and get some business skills.
Yep.
I think that is extremely important. I mean, there are a few people that can get away with it that just have the knack to build a business, but most don't. And so, you know, if there are so many people that I talk to that say, you know what, I've got $2,500. I'm going to become a professional photographer. What do you suggest? And my suggestion is don't. You don't have enough money. You're not going to make it because you know, if you're going to compete with other photographers that are out there, unless you're in a very small market, $25 isn't going to provide you with enough resources to launch your business.
Yeah,
and I know that
it's more than just gear. We know that.
Right. And it sounds crazy for me to say that, and it makes a lot of people mad, but let's shift that perspective and say, I'm going to start fill in the blank for any business. I'm going to start a restaurant, or I'm going to start an auto repair shop, or a coffee shop, or any kind of business at all. And if you said, you know, I sort of know how to make coffee, I got $2,500, I want to start something that's going to compete with Starbucks. Nobody would do that. Nobody would start an auto shop with that kind of investment, you know, unless you're the only guy that knows how to work on engines and you're in a town of, you know, 500 and that's it. Well, then maybe you can have a Sears tool chest and build the business over time, but you're still going to need a part-time job.
Yeah, and how about on the flip side? Is there a chance? I mean, it's a very tough thing to do to become an assistant for a full-time photographer. If you have that opportunity, do you think that outweighs going to school because you're learning directly from somebody in business who's teaching you everything?
I think it depends on who the photographer is and if that person is a good teacher. So I know that there are people that have been assistants to photographers, and those photographers keep their business dealings very close to the chest. And so, you know, you might learn how to do metering and things like that, but you're not going to learn what that person is doing to market themselves. So it really depends on who you're working with and how willing they are to actually be a mentor.
Sure.
So yeah, I assisted, and I think it was invaluable. And so, yeah, I highly suggest it if you can do it. And I know in my case, I probably have anywhere from 3 to 4 people every single day asking if they can come and work for me for free.
Right.
And so, and I just don't do it because usually, I need somebody that's going to be there for the long term because it's a business, and I need somebody I can count on and somebody that knows what they're doing. And I can't be teaching while I'm actually shooting for a client. That's why I started having workshops. So if you want to learn, come to a workshop. But if you want to work for me, then I need somebody that has a little bit more experience.
Well, so take it back to the beginning. Where did you get started? Why did you get started as a photographer? What was it?
Well, my background is actually in theater, and so in the 80s, you know, I shot for a high school yearbook, and my middle sister is a very proficient amateur photographer. My dad's a photographer for fun. You know, so I grew up around photography and I just really loved it. So in the 80s, I actually was in a drama team. It was me and another guy, two guys. And we were going around, we were performing at schools and churches and national parks and things like that. And we were doing plays to try to, you know, they were like the kind of stuff that you would see at your high school assembly, which is, you know, don't throw your life away, don't become an alcoholic, that kind of stuff. And
then you guys went to the bar after and did a couple shots.
Right. Actually, no, I didn't have my first drink until my 30s.
Huh.
But anyway, so what we found was we were writing our own material, and to write a full-length hour-long show, hour and a half, something like that, with just two people when you're that young is really difficult. I mean, we just weren't that good of writers. And so I'd seen this multimedia show in high school, actually. The Air Force came in and they had a bunch of rear screen projectors, and they had a bunch of Kodak carousels hooked up to computers. And so it was sort of an animated, join the Air Force with jets flying across all these screens. But it was just still photos that, it looked awesome. So somehow, and I'm not really sure of the details, I think we got this from a closet of some church or something, but I found a dissolve unit, which is the thing that controls the projectors. And I borrowed some projectors from my dad, had some, and I got some from some other friends. And then we got a rear screen, a daylight screen. And what we did was we wrote these plays, and about half of them we shot all of the drama. And so it would be us acting live, and then we would sort of walk off our part of the stage, and then all of a sudden this multimedia thing would start, and you would see these animated things happening. And so that would sort of let us do set changes or costume changes or whatever, and it would go back and forth. And so that's really where it started, and that was in the late 80s. So 1988, I think, is when we were doing that.
Did you have hair?
I had a lot of hair, actually. Yeah, I used to have a perm, if you can believe it. I used to have the 80s perm. And
Kenny G?
Nothing. Nah, not quite Kenny G, but it was like more GQ perm.
Nice.
Short, stylish, just perm on the top. I'll give you some pictures. They're on Facebook.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, people are like, wow. So that's where that started. Then I went to Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama, and I was a theater major, and I worked at a place called the Wright Center. It's a gigantic concert hall. It seats, I think, 3,600 people, something like that. And so we were doing every show imaginable, and I was on staff there. So I ran this massive sound system, and I was a roadie, and we had shows that came in. We had Tim Conway, Tom Poston. We had Natalie King. We had, shows like that. And then we also had off-Broadway shows. So all the Broadway tours came in. We had symphony orchestras. We had dance troupes. And so I did that for a few years, and I learned that trade. And we were doing shows, usually at least 8 shows per week.
And then did you start shooting the shows?
I didn't. So what we did is mainly my job there was to do audio. So that's how I learned how to do all the audio stuff. And so I was an audio guy for years. And I also learned how to build sets, do stage lighting, learned about color theory. And I was going to be a director. That was my dream, was to direct stage plays. So I learned about blocking and acting and all that stuff. And then after I left Samford, and I didn't graduate, so I don't have any degrees. I was there for 3 years and didn't finish because I was working so much. So me and 4 other guys, we started a company, and it was had a huge production company. And so we did conferences and camps and retreats and things like that. And during that time, we had to do live video because our audiences were around, depending on the week, anywhere from 800 people up to 5,000. I did some shows that we had 25,000 people show up. So it was all live video, live switching, a lot of promotional work. And so that's when I started shooting again for basically the company, so we could do promotional advertising. And then I also started assisting. I assisted a guy named Kareem Samsi Basha. I worked at a graphic design company. I did a bunch of stuff. So that's really where I got my education, was through work in addition to school. And then started Snap Factory in 2004, and have been going strong ever since. So some of the stuff that I do, I do live video, I do pre-recorded videos, I do instruction, do workshops that are live. All of that comes from my background of being on the road, traveling for years, being the son of a guy who's, my dad's a Southern Baptist preacher, and so I grew up in an environment of teaching. Sure. My mom's an English teacher. And so that's sort of where those skills come from. So it's it's not a path that anybody else will ever take. It's my individual, unique path.
When did you pick up the camera?
Well, I picked it up originally in 1984, something like that, and I never really put it down. But professionally, the first thing I shot was probably around 93, if you don't count the shows that we were shooting for. So the dramas and stuff, that was 88, 89, 90. But like product and that kind of stuff, commercial stuff was about, actually it was about 92. Yeah.
Well, I'll ask this, today, what's a percentage of shooting to teaching? Pay jobs, like getting paid to go shoot certain gigs versus the teaching stuff.
Well, the teaching far outweighs the shooting now. And even the stuff that I shoot is usually I'm shooting to teach. For example, sure. Sayconic just launched a new light meter a few months ago. And
the last light meter ever to be made.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's the last ever. So anyway, I like the last iPhone just came out too. But I was in New York shooting to demonstrate the capabilities of this meter. So I shot a bunch of portraits, and those were in a video, and then they asked me about the meter. But so that was a photo shoot that I was paid for. They'll use those images to promote that product. But it's always tied to me either promoting something or teaching how to use something. So a lot of that stuff, or Tether Tools, will shoot stuff to show off their products, or a new camera or something. So a lot of the photography that I do is to demonstrate the capabilities of a piece of equipment. So, it's still photography, still commercial photography. It just seems that my clients are manufacturers of gear and cameras.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. And it's, that sort of happened by accident, actually. So years ago, my number one client was a distributor of lingerie. So
did you have a lot of mannequins?
We had real models.
Oh no, I want mannequin. Oh, okay. I'll take the real models over the mannequins. But I do. Yeah. My mannequin sits over. I don't use my mannequin. I have it here all the time. Put T-shirts on it, and anyway. So you had real models wearing real lingerie.
Real models wearing real lingerie, and so I shot, and they distributed to lingerie stores all over the Southwest. L.A., Phoenix, Tucson, Portland, Seattle.
The dream's Vegas. Still alive in Portland.
Yeah, it still lives.
The dream of the 90s.
Exactly.
That sounds like a fun job. How'd that work out?
Well, and to go to my point of how all this stuff ties together, so I was shooting mainly lingerie, and so my portfolio was lingerie. I was shooting in-store displays, billboards, all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, I'd started teaching my 8-week workshop that I have here in Phoenix. And I thought, it'd be sort of cool if I could do this as an online video. And
what year is that?
This was, 2006, around there.
So YouTube is 2005. So yeah, it's just literally at the beginning of online video.
It really was. And so what was happening is I was having a difficult time trying to embed video on my website. So really at that time you had Flash, and you had like Windows Media Player, and there was no standard. And you couldn't
move a lot because it would chew up more bandwidth.
Exactly. Everything had to be just really compressed, and it looked really horrible. So, I saw some Flash encoding, and I was really excited about it because you can actually get, at that time, standard definition video that looked good. And so anyway, I heard on NPR, I'm an NPR junkie. So I'm listening to NPR, and I hear about this new thing that is all the rage with the kids called YouTube. And it's free online video hosting. And I'm thinking, well, gosh, I'm paying a ton of money to host my own videos, for servers and bandwidth and all that kind of stuff. And so what I did was we were shooting a Valentine's lingerie catalog. And so we just videotaped it. And we stuck it on YouTube. And of course, people watched it because it's girls in lingerie.
Oh, anytime. For anybody out there making YouTube videos, Mark, I'm going to hold that thought for 1 minute. The secret to getting a lot of views is make a thumbnail that has a lady in it. Mark, for my weekend theme, as long as you hold that other thought, for my weekend theme, I've been doing this lately where people submit certain images, and some are good for a critique that I do, and others make the top 5. But I've been taking some of the best looking girls from what people have put in and just putting up parts of their body as the thumbnail, just as an experiment. So this week, a guy took an out of focus picture of some girl laying down with a bikini bottom on, and it's out of focus, but when you make a small thumbnail of a girl's tuchus, it's unbelievable how many people click it and interact with it. It's nature, that's what they do. So this video, people watched it and we thought, hey, this works great. And so I created Digital Photography 101, which has become now, part of who I am. But we made it, it was originally going to be my 8-week course in a bunch of chunks that we were going to throw out on YouTube, but we just did it sort of for fun. We threw that out there. People watched it. I learned that I wasn't doing very well. So if you go online, you can find episode 0, which was our first test. It's horrible. So anyway, we created episode 1. It got a lot of views. I created another episode about using a light meter. So at this point, Sayconic and PocketWizard were looking for somebody because they realized at that time, hey, this YouTube thing is happening and social media is starting to happen. They must have been early adopters because most people didn't get it.
No, they were very early adopters. And, Matt Hill and Phil Braden and the guys over there that do all the stuff for those guys, they're amazing people. But so this guy, Phil Braden, saw the videos and he called me and he said, hey, I like what you do. Let's talk. Can you fly to New York? And so I did. And so a partnership sort of started with Sayconic and PocketWizard, where basically they just loaned me some gear to use in the videos that I had sent right back. But they also sort of helped me understand what their new equipment was. And that relationship sort of grew. And I think at that point I'd made about 11 videos. And we'd had close to 1 million views, something like that.
That's early. I mean, that's pre YouTube even. Well, they weren't Google yet, so they didn't have AdSense. Right. And it was just literally putting up free videos. Right.
And StudioLighting.net, which used to have a podcast called Light Source with Ed and Bill. They're awesome podcasts. I think they have like 98 podcasts. They're still out there. For anybody that wants to know about studio lighting, they're just interviews with 98 different photographers. So Chase Jarvis was on, I think, the week before I was on, and that's sort of when I realized who he was. So, I mean, this is early.
Yeah.
So anyway, those guys said, hey, we're trying to do video. What if we partner and we do some co-branding? And they had an audience of 60 or 70,000 people, something like that. And so Digital Photography 101 was originally StudioLighting.net and Snap Factory. And then Adorama saw that and they said, hey, we'd like to become the sponsor. And they had funding. And at that point, we didn't have any funding. We were doing everything out of the goodness of our heart.
Yeah. Can we go here a little bit? I mean, people don't realize what we do. I mean, we make a lot of videos. We have server space that needs to, I'm spending, is it $300 a month for a dedicated server and a team? I pay even more to have a team make sure that they're there to make sure that the site doesn't go down. Right. So when these corporate quote unquote people come along, sometimes it's the funding that helps us create the free stuff, and it may not even. You don't make a lot of money off of that stuff, and so it helps to have that. But it also, I don't know where I'm going. I really don't know where I'm going.
Let me just, I'd love to go on a tangent here.
Go ahead.
Because I was just somebody sent me a question about, is the 5D Mark III worth it? Is it worth the upgrade? And so I'd made a review on Adorama TV. And so I just wanted to quickly respond to this person. And so I just Googled Mark Wallace 5D Mark III just to get to the video. And so the page that came up was F-Stoppers had embedded that video into one of their pages. Mm. And so I just sent the link and I thought, hey, there's some comments. And so I was reading the comments. And the comments were really interesting. they were because I love the 5D Mark III. It's just an amazing camera, and I said that in the video. And Canon doesn't pay me anything to say anything good or bad about their.
I don't think anybody pays
cameras.
you anything to say good or bad.
Yeah,
I think you just say it the way you say it.
That's exactly right. And so there's no Canon doesn't send me any money. Nikon doesn't send me any money. I have an agreement with anybody who does. So PocketWizard pays me to make videos for them, but they allow me to be honest.
Well, I would hope that you wouldn't do it any other way. And because
Right.
you get people that they think that if somebody's going to give you gear, like Think Tank sends me bags, but there's something I can rip apart. You know, I don't have to review every piece that comes. I don't have to do anything. You know,
Right.
The hopes that these companies have is because you have a reach and I have a reach is that we do something with the gear. And
Exactly.
you know, and there's times that I've been sent gear where I'm like, guys, I'm not going to make a review because I don't believe in the product, and two, it's a piece of crap, so I'm not going to put it out there. And they go, okay, thank you for not doing that. But, you know, sometimes I'll allude to the fact that certain gear that I may have may not be the best thing for people, in my opinion. So it's
Right.
it's a tight,
Well,
you know, we got to walk a fine line, but I think
You have to have your integrity.
Yeah.
So in the comments, you know, the things that people said was, you know, Mark just totally sold out, and it's obviously, you know, he's not going to tell us not to buy this camera.
I just rolled my eyes. You can't see it, but I just did it.
Yeah, you know, and you know, the other thing is, you know, I make a lot of videos for Adorama, but if Adorama sells $1 billion, they don't send me any more money than if they sell zero.
Right.
So I don't make any money based on what they sell. And we, you know, we made sure we had an agreement like that so that I could actually say what I thought.
Well, there are people out there that do have websites that take money to make positive reviews because, you know,
Right.
companies will try. Like I had a company once tell me, you know, you'll do this review, but you'll make sure that it's positive. I'm like, what? I'm like,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
I said, if you make a quality piece of gear, I'm gonna call it a quality piece of gear. I said, I'm going to be honest. If I like something, I'm going to tell you I like it. If there's something about it I don't like, it's freaking real. So, you know, you can't dictate to me what, you know, I don't need you as much as you need what we have.
Yeah, and you know, there are products that I've said these aren't great, and there have been products that I've sent back. You know, but the perception is that, you know, maybe you and I are being paid to say nice things, and that's just not true. The other thing, I don't have an affiliate program. I've been offered to be an affiliate for, you know, different camera stores, and the reason I don't do that is I don't want to be making money because I'm a salesperson. That's
Right.
not what I do. I'm an educator and I'm a photographer. So, yeah, the affiliate thing I just have never done because I think it damages integrity.
I did it at the beginning. Like Amazon affiliate was really, really good because it wasn't just photography. It helped me, you know, it helped me keep the site going at the beginning. But I don't have any affiliate through any of the other companies. Everybody knows that Alan's camera on my site is there, but Alan doesn't track. Like, we don't track who goes to Alan's from me and who buys what. It just, I send them there because Alan has supported me since day one. And I've worked for Alan and basically before I even had a site, Alan helped me out. He just always was there for me, so I'm there for him, sending people his way to a mom and pop store. So, you know, we don't keep track of any of that stuff.
Well, you know, and the other thing is you need Alan and I need Adorama, because when somebody says, what do you think about the new, you know, widget, whatever it is?
Yep.
Well, I mean, I don't know what your budget's like, but I don't have the budget to buy $200,000 or $300,000 of gear every year just so I can tell other people what I think about it.
Right.
And so without those partnerships, we don't have the exposure to look at this new gear.
I mean, that's a great statement, because when I first started out, when I started unboxing and sniffing lenses, I couldn't have done that if Alan didn't exist. If Alan didn't allow me to walk in there and literally not play with anything, because, you know, new gear is new gear, but unboxing a lens and sniffing it and looking at it isn't turning it into a used piece of equipment. Like Ken Rockwell liked to say in the past. I'll just throw that out there as a little quip. But, you know, if I didn't have Alan there, I couldn't have started, you know, couldn't have made this website. It couldn't have reviewed some of the gear that I reviewed. And, you know, at times, if I go and I play with a Canon T4i or something.
Sure.
Like if I review it and test it, because Canon doesn't really send me gear in a timely fashion, which I would love for them to do. I'd love for Sony to do it too, but as of right now, they don't. I will basically use it, and then we'd sell it as used. He'll take a couple bucks off, and I'll sign the box if somebody wants it, and I'll let people know that it's there. I mean, it's basically a new camera, but you can't sell it as new.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the reason that you and I both say, here are the people that are supporting us. Please go and support us by shopping there, because it does mean a lot. And back to the selling out thing, that's something that really aggravates me when people say that, because if you're an accountant and you go to work and you do your job and you get a paycheck, nobody says, you just sold out. You're an accountant for, XYZ company, and you're taking their money, and, that's ridiculous. Well, it's a job, and what we do is a job. So.
Absolutely. And well, I don't think you've made it until you've been called a sellout. And
okay.
And if you don't have haters, you're not doing something right. So when you have haters, that means you're doing something right, because they don't like you for some reason.
I don't have any haters.
You don't have any haters?
No, that just must be you.
Oh, it's just me?
I have non-likers.
You non-likers? I don't even bring light of day to it, so we won't really discuss too much about that. But the whole sellout thing it is unbelievable when, I have t-shirts. I have my video guides, and you've got your video guides, and it's like, look, if I didn't have t-shirts, if I didn't start doing t-shirts on June 15th, after my site launched on June 10th of 2010, there would have been no way I could have paid for the server bills or anything. When I first started this site, I maxed out a credit card. I spent like 15 grand. It didn't cost me a lot to build a website. It was like $400 to hire somebody to build it. And most of the work, I already owned the camera gear to make the video, so I didn't have to spend money there. But of course, that's money spent somewhere. And I knew that I had to make some merch in order to fund it a little bit. So I put all my money into doing that, and then reinvested all the money that I made from that back into the site. And I was selling shirts for $11.99 at the time, and I wasn't making terribly too much, but it helped me get the flow going. And I think it also helped that, it's a zero financing card for 15 months. Those things, when people basically give you free money, if you're smart with your money and you're going to pay it back. I mean, I was shooting weddings. That's how I subsidized doing the website. I had a good 2 years of weddings where I was doing 14, 15, 16, and weddings were like $4,000 and up, and that money helped me survive. Plus, I mean, I was living at home. That didn't hurt. Didn't hurt not to have terribly too many expenses, but I put everything I had into getting this bad boy going. That's literally was putting up 1-2 videos a day, and that's how I'm with 1,200 videos now. And it's almost June will be 3 years.
Well, and the thing is, you've probably heard this. I've definitely heard this. People say, you just sort of appeared. That's true.
An overnight sensation that took 15 years.
Yeah, it's like, I started in the 80s, and you may have started to hear me at 2012. But hey, you know what? I actually posted on Facebook and Twitter that we were chatting, and we have people asking us questions.
Go for it.
Hit some of those?
Yeah, let's hit them in a minute, because you just said that overnight sensation thing, and it's true. And don't think that, that we didn't have failures. I'm sure Mark had some failures along the way. Like I had JaredPolin.com going, where I started to do the video thing. I started to interact with people, and I was getting some hits, but I couldn't sustain it. I wasn't doing something right. And I ended up stopping doing it. And then I discovered the whole idea of FroKnowsPhoto and just figured it out, and then just stuck with it. And so there's been failures in the past. I mean, I had to work at Ritz Camera, all right, at one point to make money. I had to work there because, and they're out of business, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of David Ritz, and David, if you're watching, I'm still not a fan of you. He didn't answer my call, and then I got fired. I called his office. I did. When I was working the reason I was working at Ritz is I started a music magazine with Ari, and we learned a shit ton. We learned a lot, but we didn't succeed. And so I needed to pay some bills back. And in order to do that, I had to get a real job, and it was Ritz Camera, and I was selling gear and doing a good job, except they were corporate, and I always fought with them because I only wanted to sell what was right for the customer, and they have the mentality of sell whatever makes money and sell. This is a one-time thing, and I'm about you build relationships, and if you tell somebody that, don't buy this yet, you may not need it, they're going to come back to you when they do need it. Right. I'll just tell that Dave Ritz story real quick. They gave us everybody's phone numbers. They gave us a list of phone numbers for people. So I called his office. I talked to a secretary. I said, "This is who I am. I'd love to talk to David. I have I have a direction that he could take his business to be successful." And then, the national manager calls the district manager, who calls my manager, who yells at me and goes, "Why are you calling David Ritz?" I'm like, if David Ritz would have called me back, he would know why I was calling him. And it was nothing bad. I wanted to, what I wanted to tell him? I wanted to say, David, in order to succeed in this business in the future, and this is just me being some guy just saying it, you need to become the Best Buy of camera stores. You need to have less stores, but you need to have bigger stores with more inventory, because the problem we always had is you couldn't get inventory to sell somebody. Nobody wanted to wait 3 weeks to get a piece of gear. So better stores, better educated staff that doesn't work off of commission because you pay them well, so they're not trying to sell that Sony camera because Sony gives you $25 if you sell it, because spiffs exist in that industry. And anyway, he failed. He went bankrupt. Then he started again, and then he failed again, thankfully, and he's gone.
He's out.
He's out. All right. Sorry, I just had to go. I had to do it. I had to do it because.
Do you feel bad? The music means our time's up. So.
The music. Thank you for playing me off.
You can pay your copay at the front with the receptionist, and we'll see you again next week for your session.
Thank you. Thank you. So you have some questions that came in. Yeah. We've got like 15 minutes we could do that with.
Okay. Let's see. Leo says, "What got you started in photography?" We talked about that. Do you prefer to teach it or shoot?
That's a good question.
I love teaching. I love it. I love teaching face to face, real audiences. I love being on video, but being in a group of people, I love to do that, and I love to shoot. So if I had to choose one over the other, I'd probably choose teaching, because I'm sort of a crowd kind of guy. I like being with people, but
I don't get along, I don't get along. For me, I love the teaching aspect. I like being able to help people get to a certain point, but I also love the shooting. And if I can embed myself in on the road with a band, if I could just shoot what I really, really wanted to shoot, and just focus in on that and be in my own mind, because you get into that shooting zone. When you're in that zone and you just shut everything else out, and it's kind of like being in the field, or what from The Legend of Bagger Vance, if you ever remember that movie, when the guy is golfing and he's like, you can see that he's in the zone. It's like when athletes get in the zone, when you're in that shooting zone and nothing else exists around you but your settings in your mind, you pre-visualize what's going to happen before it happens, and you capture it because it's going to happen. It's just something about getting in the zone I love. So I love the shooting thing. It's not as easy to do that shooting thing and be uber-duberly fantastically successful at. I love teaching, but if I could shoot nonstop and just do that and not deal with the problem with shooting, guys. I know Mark's waiting for me to finish this topic, but the problem with shooting is the business aspect. What ruins photography for a lot of photographers is having to deal with the business bullshit. Having to have some guy go, "Oh, I don't want to pay that," or some lady, "I don't want to pay that, but I want you to do this." It's just like, shut the hell up. Let me go shoot, pay me, and enjoy the work I create.
Yeah, that's why I don't do retail. It's crazy. If I could shoot travel photography and just travel the world, I definitely, that would be it. Teaching would be over. That'd be done. All right, next question.
But if I could do that and have a film crew with me the whole time, then I'd be able to do that too.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm working on that one. We'll see how it goes.
So am I. Damn it.
All right, let's see who gets there first. It's a contest.
We both can do it. There's plenty of room for everybody. That's the great thing about what we do.
True.
Anybody can start doing this tomorrow. It takes a while and it takes dedication, but I stand for something. Mark stands for something. Ken Rockwell stands for something. You know, everybody's got, you can have a following. Just stand for something. Don't be right down the middle.
Yeah. And be excellent.
Yeah, you have to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have quality work.
Yes.
All right. Barry Macbeth says, who does your hair? Specifically to you. I'm guessing that's not for me.
I mean, I do my own hair. I said this last week in the question and answers that I use Pantene Pro V on my hair. I pick it out. It takes 31 minutes to do it properly on a day where I want to put it up. And on the days I don't want to put it up and I want to look like Jesus, I just let it dry.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, my hair maintenance is pretty low key.
Yeah, do you wax it?
You're done. Do I wax it? No, there's no wax going on. Does it look waxy? I mean, that's
no, it looks fine. But I've seen those guys with the, you know, like if you had a bowling ball and you shined it, and you have the towel on it, that people do that to their heads.
No, I've powdered my head, you know, for video, so I don't have those crazy highlights.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, let's see. Jim says, what non-photography related things inspire you or work their way into your photography? Man, for me, it's definitely, I'm a movie buff. On Netflix, I think I've rated just shy of 4,000 movies about that. So I love watching movies. I love storytelling. I love the art of telling a story.
Sure.
And so there are those storytellers, specifically like Jonathan Goldstein on CNBC, who's amazing. You've got This American Life. You've got, you know, those kinds of Radiolab. I love Radiolab. But the ability to tell a story in a unique way that holds somebody's attention, you know, I tend to take that and try to translate that into my photography. But yeah, that's me.
I love history.
Oh, me too.
So, like, The Men Who Built America was a fascinating show on the History Channel. I love that stuff. I don't think it was all completely accurate, or Wikipedia was wrong, because I looked up some stuff. So, you know, right. I think they take some creative license somewhere, but it was fascinating. I love technology. But when you say movies, movies are one long, properly exposed, properly composed, long image. And so you can, like, I remember watching Finding Forrester in the movies. One of the best movies I've ever seen. Have you seen Finding Forrester?
I haven't. I'm adding it to my queue right now.
Put it on your queue, because it's well, Anna Paquin's in it before she was naked in anything else. It's just a tremendous, tremendous movie. Everybody go watch Finding Forrester. I watched that in the theater, and there's just times where you see a properly composed image and you just think, wow, that's how I would shoot it. I see images. I mean, that's the whole point of movies. You see the image and you're like, wow, right. I could capture that. And that's what inspires me to go out and shoot, because you just want to be able to create something as good as what these guys created in the movies. Yeah,
and the other thing about watching movies is to understand how they tell the story visually. Just turn the sound off. And a well-composed movie, you should be able to follow it, unless it's a Mamet film or something that's heavily character-driven. But for the most part, you should be able to follow a movie with no sound and get the gist of what's happening. And that's a sign of a great movie. You know, nobody just walks in and shoots somebody. You see the shot of, you know, here's the exterior of the shot. You see the person inside. You see the door, you see the lock, you see the key go in, you see the door open, you go through you see all these different elements, and they complete a larger story. So
sure.
Anyway, let's see. At what point should a person upgrade their camera body? You know, this, I think that's from Mansing Wong. I think, Mansing, that is a great question, because I get this question all the time. It's, you know, I've got this this camera, this lens, this flash, this studio gear. I want to upgrade it. What should I buy? When? And my answer to that is, there are two reasons that you won't be able to do what you want to do. It's either you've got some abilities that you haven't learned yet. You don't understand maybe how to achieve shallow depth of field or something like that.
And Mark,
yeah.
Hold on one second. We're starting to skip. I might be filling up a buffer here, so I'm going to stop it and restart it real quick.
Okay.
Hold on. All right, guys, sorry about that. Just wanted to restart bandwidth and all this good stuff, because it started to get choppy and we want you to hear everything. So let's start back with that question again.
Yeah, so the question again was, when should a person upgrade their gear, basically? And that's a question that I get all the time. And my answer to that is, you usually have a skill deficit where you're trying to do something and you can't, and the reason that you can't is you just don't know how. That has nothing to do with your gear. You need to go and hone your skills. And so if you're trying to do something and you can't, and it's your gear, then at that point you should consider upgrading whatever it is you're upgrading. So if you can do everything that you want with the gear that you have, there's no reason to upgrade your gear.
Absolutely.
So I've got a camera, 1DS Mark II, that's 6-7 years old, something like that. I use it in the studio all the time. It's, is it a 1DX? No. Does it do everything I want? Yeah. So have I upgraded? No.
Yeah.
There's no need for me to do that.
And I get this all the time too, and you're right. You're trying to compensate for a lack of something by thinking that it's your gear that's going to make you a better photographer. I've been getting asked a lot, and I went off on this last week in the RAWtalk flying solo, that people go, will this camera take good pictures? If that's the mentality that you have, then it doesn't matter what camera you have. Right. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So my whole thing with gear is, if you're being held back, if you think that your gear is holding you back from accomplishing something because you've reached the apex, the pinnacle of what you can do for the job that you're doing, if it's holding you back financially and you're not being able to get those jobs that you should be having or you have, then I think that's the point. When you've surpassed what the gear can offer you. I mean, that's exactly. You just got to be careful, though. I'm not saying that if you think you should get better gear, you should just go buy better gear. And the thing is, I put up a video a long time ago, what's in my bag, and it has over 500,000 views on it. Lil's in it, and it's just me lining up all my gear. And it's 2 years ago, and people are going, it's time for you to do a new one. Gear has changed. There's been so much new stuff coming out, and you should update
pretty much
it.
The same.
But the only thing that has changed from that video is I have a D4. In that video, I had a D3S. Every other lens across the board is the same one that I had then. So, the only thing that I'm upgrading is my 300 2.8 VR2. I'm going to the VR2, and I'm going to sell my AFS, which is at Nikon, getting overhauled, because that's the smart thing to do before you sell something, is you make sure that it is in tip-top shape. And actually, here's a quick side note on sending gear back. People are always looking to buy these 300 2.8s, these older lenses. You have to be careful for Nikon and Canon about buying older glass, because at some point they run out of ways to fix them. They don't have the parts to fix these things, so they go on what's called parts hold, and you basically have a paperweight because they can't fix it. So, you have to be careful with that. And that's just something I'm saying. Make sure you do send gear back before it's past like 10 years old, because at this point my AFS is 12 years old. They're running out of parts for it. They're waiting on a part from Japan right now. It takes 3 weeks to get it. That's why I sent this thing in, because I know it's reaching the end of its repair life form. That's why I'm getting it fixed now.
Right. Yeah. So, back to the point of when should you upgrade. So this person, so his name's Mansing, says he has a 6-year-old Rebel XTI. Well, in that situation, let's say you're shooting a wedding. Well, a 6-year-old Rebel is not a full frame camera, so you're probably restricted by the space that you're able to shoot in. Your depth of field isn't going to be wonderful. Your low light performance is horrible. Yeah. And so if you're doing that kind of stuff, it's time to upgrade, because in a professional environment, you're so far behind from, say, a 5D Mark III or even a new Rebel.
And if you're getting paid, you kind of want to look like a professional. And this goes back to when I first got into digital. I waited. Nikon didn't have anything they had an D100 at the time, and I waited until they had a camera that matched my F5's productivity, and that became the D2H. It was a pro body. It was a first redesigned body, because the D1 and the D1H and the D1X were all based off of an F5 body. They were just basically hacked together with digital parts inside. And when the D2H came out, that was the first all-digital camera. Like, it was built from the ground up to be it. So the reason I bought that, and it was more expensive than what other people had, is because I feel I wanted to look... I didn't want a camera that anybody off the street could buy.
Right.
But also it comes back to glass. If you don't have good glass, you probably shouldn't be upgrading your body. Let's go to that next question.
Yeah, we can talk about upgrading. Let's see. Joey Joyner from Texas, he asks, "What's some tips for talking to your subjects during a shoot to make them feel at ease?" I don't know how to answer that question actually, because to trying to teach somebody how to feel at ease at a party or feel at ease in a social environment.
Some may say ecstasy.
Yes, just take some X. I will say, I don't have tips for topics, but I would say that one of the things you need to do, in my opinion, is you need to have a constant conversation with your subject. And so the worst possible thing you can do is say, "Okay, I'm going to take a picture. 1, 2, 3."
How did you do it with the girls in lingerie?
Well, most of those girls we worked with a lot, and so we knew each other, and it was music going all the time, and we were shooting on a schedule.
I just got a visual, Mark, but it was like 1970s Boogie Nights, pile of blow in the corner, which I know is not something that you probably did. It's not something that I've ever done, and it just never. But that's the visual that I see. It's like a pile of blow and people doing heroin in the corner. Let's take some photos, man.
Hey, man, let's do it.
Let's make some art.
That visualization helps you out, then go with it.
And then an orgy.
No, it was. I'm skipping right over that. You can, it was just like, hey, Amanda's up next, and here's what we need. And normally in these shoots, it's not me and a model. It's me, an art director, a creative director, a wardrobe stylist, a couple of makeup artists, an assistant, a PA, a runner. And so it's not a small group of people.
Did you get numbers?
Well, we had to call all of these models back for the next job, so of course.
Yeah, what a racket. Yeah, I'm gonna need your number just in case we need you again. Hey, I got a private shoot going on later. I'm trying to accomplish this. You look good in lingerie, but how do you look in a long T-shirt?
With a football. Yeah,
with a football.
Actually, to see the interaction, a lot of that stuff, it's still on YouTube. So I think the very, very first video I did is girls in lingerie. You could just see how it works.
Here I'll answer, and then we'll move on to another one before we wrap up. Is confidence. If you're confident, you exude this confidence, it's going to rub off on whoever you're shooting. And sometimes you need to be more stern. If there's a big burly guy who's a biker, and not just biker, because it could be a big burly guy who's not a biker, he could be a ballerina, and you just may need to loosen them up somehow. You got to know how to work with people, and there's no way to teach this. You have to feel out each situation to how each subject is going to, how they're going to react to you. So it's just like, you look at Josef Karsh, right? And you read the story of that Winston Churchill photo. You remember that?
Yeah.
So
the cigar shot?
Yeah.
It's all like sort of...
Yeah, he's angry, but he basically said you could take one picture and be done. And we're going back to the 40s and all of this. But Josef Karsh wasn't happy. What did he do to get the reaction, the scowl that he was looking for? He grabbed the cigar out of his mouth. And he got his attention by doing that. And at that point, he gained all credibility with him, and he allowed him to take the pictures. And that's how he got that awesome picture, because he didn't stand for the bullshit. He said, no. You're going to listen to me. I'm taking away your cigar. You can have it when when you're happy again. So,
right.
It's going to be different for everybody.
It's like shooting kids and taking away their candy. Something like that.
Right. And we talked about that with Breaking Ben, my buddy Ben Loyner, who was working for that lady who did all the photos of the kids crying. He was in charge of taking the candy away and making the kids cry.
Wonderful. What a job.
That was his job when he was assisting. Now he shoots Breaking Bad and all that good stuff. So they have different candy now.
Yeah, totally. It's blue.
It's blue. Damn, I was gonna. Oh, when you're working with women, here is one thing that is like a definite. You don't touch them until you ask for permission. I'm going to fix your hair. Hey, you have a hair out of place. Is it okay if I put it back into place? It doesn't work if you say your bra isn't working right, I need to fix it. That doesn't work, but you have to ask permission. Even do it with guys. Is it okay if I move your shoulders? It's just, you have to do it because that's respect. You don't just go and grab somebody.
Or even better, I mean, if you're working with a model and you say, hey, can I touch you and move your hair? If that model is insecure or new, they're going to say yes, but they're going to not like it. So the better thing to do, in my opinion, is get a female assistant and have the female assistant touch the model.
I hit on female assistants and models, so it's all a losing proposition for me.
It's all losing. Sorry, man. Let's see. What is more challenging? This is from Jan Curell. To shoot somebody you know, a portrait of somebody you know, or somebody you don't know. I'm going to vote somebody you know is more challenging every time.
Yeah, but it works both ways. I love the challenge of working with somebody I've never worked with, because you start to see, they start to understand what you're going to do. And I guess when you do know the people that you're shooting, they kind of know what you're going for, so they may just leave you to be. Like when I'm shooting a band that I've shot 27 times, they kind of don't even worry about me anymore, and I just shoot whatever I want.
Well, I would definitely say when I'm shooting a model, especially for personal work, I always book 2 shoots. And the first one is wouldn't say a throwaway shoot, but it's the shoot where we try to figure out, what music, what poses, what lighting, how do we interact, that kind of stuff. And the second shoot is almost always better than the first. Almost always.
I remember back in the day, I think teachers used to say you burn your first roll of film in the studio and it's a waste. You might as well just shoot it really quick until they calm down. Now, there are good photos that come very early on in a photo shoot, but I think it is true. People do loosen up the more you shoot. And it used to be you burn that first roll of 36 and then they get ready to shoot.
Right. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, let's see. One more. What skill do you most often see overlooked or misunderstood? And that's from Morgan Glasgow.
How about this?
Morgan, go ahead. I've got my nomination.
I'm just going to say the basics. The fundamentals of photography, they can be very overlooked with people picking up those cameras that just have auto and stuff. So the best advice for anybody out there in anything you do is understand the basics before you try to jump into the deep end.
I wonder if there was a resource where somebody could learn the basics, some video or something.
I'm sure Mark Wallace has one. Oh, and I have one too.
Yeah, you've got one.
The FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide.
That's awesome.
It does work.
I'd say that's absolutely true. I've seen people put their camera on manual and then set the shutter and aperture and just expect it to work, and not understanding that, you have to shoot to the light that you have. I've definitely seen a huge misunderstanding of the exposure triangle. But if you go beyond that, so let's say people that understand basic exposure and metering and things like that, I think the thing I see most misunderstood is speed lights, on-camera flash, TTL metering. Not studio strobes, but the small flashes. They're just misunderstood.
I agree. Like, I'm the same way with that. I may not understand those fully. I can go into a studio all day and set up my white lightnings and shoot, but I don't really fully have the grasp of speed lights, and I never have.
Right.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of people that say they don't shoot flash and they don't use speed lights, a lot of it is because you're afraid of it. So that's why you say that you don't know, you don't like it. I mean, that's true with anything. You don't like something until you really know how to do it. I know my shortcomings when it comes to flash photography, but I know that I can go into the studio any day of the week and set up 3, 4, 5 different lights and make it work.
Right. Yeah. So, I did a creative live on speed lights, and I thought it was so basic, just basic stuff. And the feedback was, wow, I never knew this stuff.
It's unbelievable how the basics that we think, we just do most of these things, and they become the most interested thing. Because we forget, we've been doing it for so long that we kind of forget that you have to start at the very beginning in order to get to where you're going.
Right. Yeah. That's why I love teaching, because I always get reminded of things.
So,
right, last question.
Yeah.
From Jim Neuner. What's the best way to get a release signed, and do you really need a release for street photography? And my answer is I always get a release signed if I'm intending to use that photo in a commercial way. So if I'm going to put it in a video, if I'm going to have it in something that's sponsored, if I'm going to sell it, you have to have a release. So do you need a release sign for street photography? You don't, unless you're going to be using that for a commercial use. And I just think you need to cover yourself.
Or you do it and worry about it, and don't worry about it.
Right.
Street photography. I mean, it's depending on the laws of the country, because it differs around the world now. But if you're in a public place, you can kind of shoot whatever you want.
Yeah, it's the expectation of privacy. If I'm shooting a street scene in New York and it's Times Square and there's a few hundred people, I'm not going to get releases. But if I am in Times Square and I see a guy drumming on buckets, and I think it's just an amazing thing, and I think, you know what, I want to use this for a stock photo.
Or
definitely a release.
Speaking of New York, if you shoot the naked cowboy, at that point, he's a celebrity figure. You need to get his permission for if you're going to sell it, because he made what, $14 million. If you remember an M&M's commercial where M&M's was doing some kind of promotion, and there was an M&M dressed like the naked cowboy. They were using his likeness, but even though it was an M&M, and he sued them, and he won because they didn't ask for that. The naked cowboy. So those situations to be careful for. And the easiest way to get a model release signed is these days with iPads. There's an app. You can just have it. It's $10.
There's Getty has an app that's free that you can use. And it's the same release, I think, as iRelease, but you don't have to pay for it. Right.
All right, Mark.
Awesome. Yeah, we got about a billion more questions, but we're out of time.
We'll do a full question and answer thing. We should do another Spreecast and just take questions, hopefully not gear related. Why don't you tell people where they can find all of you?
Well, I can be found at snapfactory.com. That's the best place to go. You can see my portfolio. You can see my live shows. You can see the digital downloads, all the resources, videos that we've made. Or find me on Facebook at J. Mark Wallace. Just the letter J, MarkWallace. So I think I have 30 more people before I hit the max on Facebook, so you better get in soon.
You didn't start a fan page?
I have. There's like 4 fan pages, but my fans actually started those.
You need to have your own fan page so you can go beyond 5,000.
Yeah, I'm about to switch my page to a page.
Do they let you do that now?
Yeah, you do, but there's penalties because you lose all your content.
Oh, snap, Factory.
It just poof goes away. So yeah, we could do that, or you can have subscribers, which is probably what I'll do until I figure out what I want to do.
Cool. Thank you for joining us, man.
Absolutely. I mean, it's lots of fun. It's amazing how an hour and a half goes by so fast.
It does. And guys, thank you for listening to another episode of FroKnowsPhoto RAWtalk. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.
Peace.
Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of RAWtalk. I really hope you enjoyed it and stuck around till the end. I didn't even, I forgot to say tweet something out there so I know that you listened to it. Why don't we do something like bald is beautiful, for Mark, and just tweet me at FroKnowsPhoto and just say bald is beautiful. Thank you for listening. And I give away a free guide to somebody who does that tweet. So pay attention. Maybe you will win something from me. And don't forget about the FroKnowsPhoto holiday giveaway. 40 prizes, 40 winners, $7,000 worth of goodies and gear coming from Think Tank. Let's see, Black Rapid, Drobo, and Vanguard, giving 12 different items. That's right. And you can enter for free. And the FroKnowsPhoto holiday sale is going on in the store. There are some good sales going on, whether it's a 5-shirt deal for $49.99, and 20 people will open their package and find a golden Fro pick, which is going to get them entered to win one of the 40 prizes. So there you guys have it this week. Thank you for listening to FroKnowsPhoto RAWtalk.